Hey guys, it's finally publishing day. I'll be publishing my projects to Azure. Let's take a quick look at my projects. So I have an API project, a database project, a worker project, that's a background worker, so a backend background worker, and a front-end Blazor WebAssembly application that I want to publish today. But for this front-end application to fully be functioning online, I'll have to publish my API first, since this one does HTTP calls to the API. But to have a up and running API, I'll have to have an up and running database first. So let's start with the database. Also, what you see is there's some shared projects. That complicates our deployment process a little bit more. So what I don't want to have is anytime I make a change to this front-end application and then push it to GitHub to be deployed. I don't want the API to be redeployed and the worker to be redeployed just for a simple change in here. Of course, it's possible that a change in one of these shared projects will also mean a change in one of the backend projects or the other front-end project, which I'm not going to publish yet. I'll make another video about that soon. And I'll be showing you the method I find the most, the simplest, the most elegant. And it's by simply using GitHub, pushing your code to GitHub, then doing a pull request to a certain branch, like the main branch or a branch of choice, and that will trigger a deployment process to Azure. That would be a very simple one, since it's just me on on a rather small project. In the future, I'll be making videos about more advanced scenarios, but let's not focus on that right now. Let's head over to Azure. If you don't have an Azure account yet, yeah, make one. You'll have to potentially add your payment details, credit card or something, but the costs are not too crazy. Let me quickly show you. I already have deployed some projects to Azure. So I have an API already. I have a Blazor WebAssembly project. I'm going to overwrite this with the current one I have, with this new one. I have an administration project, which is actually also a Blazor client, a WebAssembly project. I have a background worker service, another one. I have a blob store to store images and all other files. I have a database, a MySQL database, but I'm going to make another one. I have, oh, sorry, that's the server and the database. I have another Blazor WebAssembly project on static web app. You can see the types. So the backend projects usually are on an app service, and the frontend project on a static web app service, since that's just some static files that need to be publicly accessible. Then I have another app service project, a Razor website, Razor Pages website, and I think, yeah, think that's all. Project insights for application insights. I'm not properly using yet, but I'll be soon. Okay, let me show you about the costs for all of these. Currently, I'm at about 15 euros or $15 a month. You see a small peak in here, 70. That's because I messed up with the databases. I accidentally forgot to downscale my database. Anyway, then you can see cost by resource. Oh yeah, okay, that's the project, really. You can see three sites, three static sites, two databases, that's the server and the okay. Anyway, I shouldn't have been. Let's create a new resource. It's going to be a SQL database. The subscription is going to be the same. The resource group, maybe I should make a new one. No, not gonna bother. Well, share the same lifecycle permissions and policies. Well, database name, I'm going to call it pet social DB, like my project. It doesn't have to be the same as a project, but I like that. My region, that's the database server, the same one. Okay, which is fine. Workload environment. Let's see. Yeah, that's about the scaling. Let's keep it on the lowest for the moment. Just basic. And then you can see the estimated cost. You can even scale down. Let's keep it at 2 for now. That's about 4 euros. That's about the same in US dollars at the moment. You can choose here how wide of a range you want these things to be accessible. Since my applications are just going to be focusing on my own country and region, I would say. Maybe zone. Let's see. You can go next or just already review and create. You can also check in here some extra settings. Phew, that's 12 or 12,000. No, okay. Data source. There's some things you can change. Some tags for billing purposes. Let's just review and create. Could download the template for automatization, it said. Might be the Azure RM templates or something, I don't know, not sure. Let's give it some time to to make. Once it's done, it should tell me to go to the resource, prompt me. So go to the resource, gives me some getting started information. I'm just gonna go to overview, and I'm going to track down my connection string. Hopefully it's hidden. So if you then go to the overview, you see the pricing tier and all sorts of stuff, what you just configured. And then you see the connection strings. I'm not going to show them, just going to copy them and paste that into my backend project, but I'm also going to try to connect to it using Table Plus. So normally I could make a new connection Microsoft SQL Server. I'm not going to show you the connection string details, of course. How will I call this? But social production MSSQL tag production. Then I'm going to fill in the details, test it, save it, and then it should be added to the list and I can connect to it. What you should note here is for database, it's probably going to default to the master database or something. Up until I actually do the migrations, only then maybe the pet social DB will be accessible, but more about that in a bit. Pretty funny. Not sure if that's a feature or bug, but I copied the connection string and it just copied the text instead of the actual string for some reason. Let's try that again. Paste. Sure. That's lame. Okay. I'm going to paste this connection string already into my API project in the app settings. Okay, this is a bit weird. First I clicked show database connection strings and then I copied the connection string and I saw the password was not filled in. It was some kind of placeholder. Although nothing really asked me to set a password, so that's odd. Of course, this is my second database on the same SQL Server, so it's possible that maybe when you create your first database, you do get that, you do get the password or something, or an option to set one. Anyway, you could, let's say if you really don't know your password, you could go to the SQL Server resource, not the database, the SQL Server, and click reset password and then use that password in your connection string. So you could just set a new password and then use it in your connection string. I'm just going to copy over the password from my previous project. I saw that was filled in that connection string, so I'll just do that. Hopefully you are not encountering the same issues. So I added that connection string to my app settings. So now the API project is ready to be deployed as well. But let's first try to connect with the newly created SQL database. I filled everything in. The database name was actually pet social DB already, so that's good. But there's nothing in here, of course. So now we could do two things, either import from a SQL dump or CSV, or we could just, sorry, I would recommend doing that if you already have some important data in some database you want to copy over. This should also copy over the migrations and all that, I think. So that's not a bad idea. However, you could probably also do this if you just want to have all the tables over, but not really the data. It's probably you have to export differently in your existing database. So maybe what's this, the local one? You can probably just do select all and export or something. Just be aware this one says JSON as well as an option, but you can't actually import using JSON, so you're kind of screwed if you do that. Also, I've noticed exporting as as these types of files sometimes break the relations, and it's quite annoying. If you, for example, did a lot of manual database input, like I did for the dog breeds, I had to add pictures everywhere and texts and all that stuff, and suddenly just, well, importing, exporting these images were just like the relation was broken, and I could do it all over again. So I'd recommend this SQL to make a SQL dump. So here you can choose include table content or table structure. Let's just do the, you could do it like that. It seems like a valid option. Another way to do it would be, oops, I see my app settings is open, I'm gonna close it. Another way would be to just temporarily put the production connection string in your app settings.development.json and then manually run the migration commands. So just the database update one while being connected to the production database. So this, you can choose which one you would pick. I would say there's both. With both, there's risks involved. Both ways. Maybe the SQL dump is the safest one. But it will probably happen if you deploy more and more and more that you will add migrations locally and then you have to apply them to the database. And at that point, I don't think you'll want to take a copy of your local database and copy it over and replace the current production database with the local data and structure. That doesn't seem like a valid option. So then I would advise to do this way. Just paste the production connection string into the development.json. So you connect to the production database and then execute these commands on the production database. So for an initial um, initial restore of the production database, this might be a valid way to do it. Maybe in the future you just want to only have the structure. That might work for, let's say, if you have more migrations in your local project than on your production project, then maybe this one would do the trick instead of connecting to the production database and running the migration commands. But yeah, I think those are the simplest options. I'll make videos in the future about a better approach, maybe a safer approach. But let's continue like this for now. Let's actually export this. I'm just gonna take a look at my user profiles. Nothing's in here, that's good. Oops, stable plus. The only things I have running, yeah, that's kind of a, I wonder if you don't take into account the content, if the migration stuff is gonna be also applied. Let's try that. Oops, sorry. Come on. Let's export these. Drop if table exists is not going to be important right now since we don't have any. Let's see, but social. Hmm. And let's try that. Go back to my production one. Import SQL dump local but social SQL. UTF-8. I'm not sure if that's okay. Oh, doesn't seem to have worked. Maybe that's because of the UTF-8. I wanted to see why this happens. I think it's just a char set and compatibility or something. Pop, 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 But I'm not going to waste time. I'm just going to do it how I usually do it. And that is connecting to the production database and running the migrations locally. So let me copy over the connection string from the app settings to the app development settings. And let me go into that social project to then run the update command. Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah, let's do that. But that is just going to apply the migrations. And one of the migrations also includes my seeded content. So that's actually okay, I think, yeah. Seems to take a while. It told me it was done. Let's have a look. And I see all my tables. Let's see if the data is there. The seeded data should be, yeah, there seems to be some seeded data in. So that went fine. We have a working database with our tables, and now we can deploy the API. The backend project, make sure to revert the connection string before you deploy. Let me quickly do that. I mean, revert it if you're going to develop locally again, that you're not working on the production database. That wouldn't be too great of an idea.